All right, first and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son, the Hamashiach, who some call Yahweh Shai, Yehoshua, Yeshua. We mostly know as Jesus Christ. We're going to run through Romans 11 with the sons of thunder. I differ in my breakdown with this. We're going to show a few holes in the doctrine, a few errors. We're going to try to correct some things through the Spirit. And not here to condemn, not here to just hey, these some things you need to look at. And this is how I see them, and I would explain these things.
Being grafted in. You got brothers that teach that this is the northern kingdom being grafted back in. Now, as far as I know, the original One West teaching concerning this was that this is actual Gentiles being grafted in. That's what they taught at the original school. Now, there are many teachings from the original school that brothers do not carry today, okay? Because you can break down the scriptures how you got to break them down. That doesn't mean that the original school was teaching that all nations get the promises of Israel. The way that they taught it was like this. The grafting in is saying the heathens are being brought in to make the Israelites jealous. But they was brought in to keep the commandments, and they did not do it either. So the Most High is going to punish them like he said in the first place, and it's justified. That was the way that was taught, all right? At SOT, we don't teach that this is talking about the natural heathen being grafted in, and we're going to explain why.
Fair use, fair use, fair use.
John, you want to get to the point with the grafted in?
Yes.
Come. This is the book of Romans, chapter 11, starting.
So he's saying that the old One West taught that was heathens being grafted in, but the heathens didn't keep the covenant of the grafting in. They had to continue in faith. They didn't continue, or they had to continue keeping the law, which you're going to see where there's problems with that, but let's continue.
That verse 19. That will say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief, they
will jump up. Start at verse 16.
God. Verse 16. For if the first fruit be holy,
come on,
the lump is also holy.
Come on.
And if the root be holy, so are the branches.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, we're talking about one tree. Now, I'm talking about two different trees with two different sets of roots.
Right there, you're talking about one tree.
Talking about one tree. Read.
And if some of the branches be broken off,
then you got branches that have been broken off of that one tree.
Of that one tree.
And thou, being a wild olive tree.
Now you have another tree. You got the one tree, you got branches that have broken off of that tree, and now you got a wild tree. But it's very important. He says, you being a wild olive tree,
were grafted in among them.
Come on.
And with them partakers of the root.
And he missed that part. He kind of rolled over it.
Talking about one tree. Read.
And if some of the branches be broken off.
Of that one tree.
And thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them.
See how he kind of stuttered a little bit? I'm going to show you why. Where he started 16. It says, verse 17, and if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, you know what that tells me right there? That's who he's talking to. And you. If some of the branches be broken off. I started at verse 16. It says, for if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy, and the root be holy. So are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and you, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them. So the them is the broken branches and the tree that is holy. And then there's a wild olive tree, which is the you. And you being a wild olive tree. This is who Paul's talking to. Paul's talking to the wild olive tree. He's not talking, the audience is not the broken branches. The audience is not the tree that's holy. The audience is the wild olive tree. Can we agree there, Brother Joel?
Come on.
And with them partakers of the root and the fatness of the olive tree.
Now, see, this is where they would say, well, see, these are people that are partaking of the root. They're not of the root. They're partaking of the root. I can understand that. I'm not saying brothers are out of their mind. I understand. Read on.
Boast not against the branches.
Come on.
But if thou boast, bearest not the roots, but the root thee. Thou will say then.
All right, we got to explain everything.
Okay.
Don't brag that now you get the opportunity to be a part of the congregation of Israel. Don't brag about that. Because remember, the root is carrying you. It's the root of that tree, which is Christ.
Why would the northern kingdom need to brag? Why would the Israelite need to brag about an Israelite about being grafted into Israel? Why would the Israelite
Go to Revelation and say the offspring and the root of Jesse.
Yep. Revelation.
You bragging like you deserve it instead of saying it is the root of that tree that made it possible for me.
Right.
So he's saying, don't get boastful. Read on.
Thou will say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in.
Because what y'all gonna start saying is, them branches of that original tree were snapped off for my sake. So y'all get out the way, I'm coming in. Paul is saying, don't be like that, read.
Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off.
It was broken off.
And I'm gonna tell you this part here. Let me go back a little
Because
bit.
remember, the root is carrying you.
He kind of hit on it though.
I understand.
Yeah,
Gentiles keep the commandments.
No.
Did they teach the same Christ?
Shalaki, y'all.
Toward thee, goodness, if thou continue in his goodness.
If that what? Paul is saying, don't be like that, read.
Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off.
It was broken off because of what?
Unbelief.
Very important. They were broken off because of unbelief in what? They weren't broken off because of keeping the commandments. They were broken off because of unbelief in what? In the Messiah.
Come on.
And thou, stand.
Did the northern kingdom get the chance to believe in the Messiah? Then the mentions of the northern kingdom that we have in the text in the New Testament, one of them was there. The sister was there. I think the sister from Asher, she was there when Christ was getting circumcised inside of the temple.
Standeth by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear.
Come on.
For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed, lest he also spare not thee.
So if the Most High gonna judge the natural branches, he gonna judge you too. So they would teach that was the Gentiles being humbled, not to get cocky, because now that they have a chance. Read on.
If God, behold, therefore the goodness and severity of God on them which fell, severity, but toward thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness.
If thou what?
Continue in his goodness.
Did the Gentiles keep the law, statutes, and commandments of God? No. Did they teach another Christ? What was the stipulation? Read again.
God. But towards thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness.
Read.
Otherwise, thou also shalt be cut off.
Otherwise, you gonna be what?
Cut off.
Now, did the Gentiles keep the commandments?
No.
Did they teach the same Christ? No. They made up their own religions. And what was the stipulation if they do that? They're gonna be cut off too, right?
Right.
So the elders taught it like, it is talking about the natural heathen, but based on their actions, they cut off. So they.
And I agree to an extent with that, but not that last part that they had to keep the law to be in there. And that goes back to a very pivotal moment in Acts 15, the Jerusalem Council. You have to deal with that also, that instructions are given to heathens, but you may not think they're heathens, but they're given to some people that this is what they need to do and they don't need to do this. All right, you know what I'm talking about, Brother Joel.
They get nothing. This was just done to provoke you to jealousy so that you would want your birthright back. I understand that.
Get that?
Brothers understand?
Nah, that makes sense.
Now, I
And I agree with the provoke to jealousy part. Deuteronomy 32:21.
disagree slightly. Keep reading on.
God. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in.
Say what?
And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in.
Read.
For God is able to graft them in again.
Now I got a problem. How is the Lord going to graft them in again if they was never in? What you mean?
And really, this just comes down to he just got all the pieces wrong. He don't know, he got all the pieces wrong, so he can't put it together. Let's go through this and let's help our brother. Boast not against the natural branches. Again, we established the audience there. Verse 18, boast not against the natural branches. All right, he's telling the wild olive tree, don't boast against the branches. What branches? Them branches that done fell off. Don't think you better than those branches. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. And that's a better translate. A lot of times we'll just roll over that because it's kind of hard to understand. But he's saying, listen, you don't bear the root. All right, that's what he's telling the wild olive tree. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root. If you trying to boast, you need to understand that you don't bear the root. You don't bear the root. You just a branch. You a wild tree. You're not from the tree. So, you're boasting, but in your boasting, you really need to understand. You need to calm down and humble yourself because you don't bear the root. You're just a branch, brother. But you a heathen. Wild olive tree. Verse 19, thou will say then, the branches, and then you going to respond back with, I just tell you, hey, man, you ain't really, you ain't connected to the root. You just a branch. You going to come back and say what? The branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Okay, that's what got them in. It wasn't their works. It wasn't that they were keeping the commandments. They got in here by faith. Where's the northern kingdom talking about faith in Christ? Besides the woman at the temple who knew she was an Israelite. And I don't know, I had to go back and read if she was from Asher or not, but she was there, prophesied, and knew that was the Messiah. Thou standest by faith. You gotta hold on to that. Be not high-minded, but fear. Okay, there were some that were broken off not because of works, but because of unbelief. They were broken off. Remember, Christ came here in the midst of our sin. Okay, he came. We didn't do that to usher in Christ. All right, it was grace and mercy that brought in Christ to come down and give us that free gift. And thou standest by faith, be not high-minded, but fear. Verse 21, for if God spared not the natural branch, listen, man, if he ain't spare the natural branches who were connected to the root, if he broke them off, the apple of his eye, if he broke them off, take heed, lest he also spare not thee. Verse 22, behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fail. Severity. Okay, on them that fail, severity, but toward thee, goodness. And if thou continue in his goodness, see, if you continue in his goodness, you putting the commandments in there and so forth, that's part of it, but the main part of it is faith. And that's what Paul's teaching throughout his epistles, is faith in Jesus Christ, in Yahushua. Faith in the Lord, faith in the Messiah. Where I was at. Goodness, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou shalt also be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, look how they get back in. They don't get back in by sacrificing goats. They don't get back in by tithing mint and coming. They get back in by believing in the Messiah. That's what's being said here. They also meaning this is not the wild tree. This is not the audience. He's talking about some other people, and the other people that are in it's Israel. They also, who have been broken off, if they abide not still in unbelief, meaning if they start believing, shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again, because they were already part of that tree. And so they can easily bring that tree back to its original form. Those branches I meant, it can bring those branches back to that original tree, because it's from this, it got the same makeup, the same genetics. And I give an example, but I'll give it after this. We'll keep watching here.
He graft them in again. That means that, are you saying the branches that was broken off, then the heathen came in and he went off and he was cut off, and now we bringing the heathen back in?
No. You saying you said the branches, that the branches were cut off initially before the heathen got cut off. That was just a stipulation. Hey, if you continue in his goodness, he'll spare you. But you have to add in later, hey, well, they didn't do it and so they got cut off. But the text don't say that. The text says something actually different that you finna get into.
Again? I don't think that's the teaching. Read.
For if thou were cut off of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted, contrary to nature, into a good olive tree.
Now they'll correct me again. They say, now Yawal, how is the northern kingdom contrary to nature when they natural Israelite? I understand that. But remember, Paul's audience is Jews.
So he gonna override that and bring in his presupposition. He's saying that the audience is Jews. And that's not the case. Remember, we went there. Remember, Yawal, that natural tree in verse 16, that holy tree, and then there are branches that are broken off. Okay. You trying to make everybody here Israel. You trying to make the holy tree all the Israelites. Then you saying the branches broken off, which are northern kingdom. And then you saying the wild olive tree is northern kingdom. That's what you're doing, brother. You can't do that. Okay? Or you can't do that. That's why you can't even bring northern kingdom in this. And I think Sakari, when I was talking with Sakari, they didn't bring northern kingdom in this. They understood that northern kingdom was already in America, and that Paul is not dealing with them. They feel Paul was going to actual Jews, which don't make sense, and I know they know better than that. And so they would say, well, the natural branches are Jews. The natural tree with the root and all of that is Jews. And some of the branches broken off is Jews. And then the wild olive tree is Jews who didn't know they were Jews. And then, you said in the video, Where there's Jews in Corinth and there's Jews holding synagogues, they got a synagogue up there, brother, that's teaching the law. Wow, there's synagogues all over these heathen areas. What is the history? Why did the Pharisees start making synagogue? Because they felt that the Torah should be taught all over. And we were all over. And we're going to get into this stuff. We're going to start getting into Philo. We're going to start getting into Josephus, because we don't have to guess and speculate on the political climate that was, during first, second century. We have lots of texts to glean from to know how these things were going on. Even that Babylon to Timbuktu that a lot of us read, we gonna deal with that too. Some of that other information in there. We like to highlight that page 84, but we gonna deal with that other stuff. And what's crazy about that, but we're done. I ain't gonna get into that.
Right. He talking to Jews and them that know the law.
Right.
He not talking to the brothers in Samaria. Matter of fact, at this time, you would have no dealings with a Samaritan.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it.
Now, Jesus Christ taught the woman at the well, who was a Samaritan.
And then he said at this time, but Christ told you to go to all nations. I think that's Matthew 10. He told you only don't go. And then that's the crazy thing there. He told you don't go to Samaria. Don't go to the Gentile areas. Only go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He's telling, because the lost sheep not there. You say he telling you that? What did that mean? Don't go to the Gentile areas. Don't go to Samaria. Only go to the lost sheep. Where are they at? They're not there. It's what he's saying. Unless you just want to remix that and make it, again, put in your presupposition into that. But if we just listen to what he's saying, we just take his word for what it is. The lost sheep aren't in ain't in them Gentile areas, and it's not in Samaria.
And she was surprised that Jesus Christ of Judah would even talk to her.
What are you talking to me for?
Y'all have no dealings with us. Now you're getting a little context. What did Christ say? Our fathers drank from this well. Well, then that would mean that your father is my father, Jacob. So the head of Samaria is Damascus, and the head of Ephraim is Samaria. Right?
And I'll let you have that, but 2 Kings 17, we know that, man, that the Syrian king brought in heathen, took the northern kingdom out of there, most of the northern kingdom out of there, brought in heathen, they mixed in, and then they had to bring in a Levite to teach them the ways of that God, because lions were eating them. Read 2 Kings 17. I know you know this, Joel. Yawal, Shalakia. We understand that. You understand that. And you understand the history too of the Hasmonean dynasty that, well, maybe you don't, that they conquered Samaria and that Israelites, that Jews destroyed their temple. That's why she said, man, our forefathers used to worship up here. Yeah, you used to. Yeah, Israel, we destroyed that temple. Get that trash up out of there. But they also worshiped, they learned the ways of our God, and they also worshiped their other deities that from those other nations that they were from. And this is why we didn't deal with them. It wasn't because of Hosea that we weren't dealing with them. We weren't dealing with them because they were heathen and they were pagan. That's why we didn't deal with them. They were doing something else. Now, they had a little history. They did know, and it was a few Israelites left, like the women and children. A lot of times they would get left, or the weak older men, they would get left. A lot of times the Syrians, or anytime you go into captivity, they'll take the strongest men they'll want. And they'll take some women too, but usually it's it's their healthiest and smartest is what they want. And they want the people still to be there. That's why they put more people there, because they still want people to be there to grow food, and they can tax them and so forth. Ain't no need of just destroying them and nobody's there. You can have somebody there and you can lord over those people and have them paying tribute and, bringing you food.
Right? I think I might have butchered that. But Ephraim is Samaria. That's the capital.
That's where Jacob's well is.
Okay. Well, Ephraim is the chief of the northern tribes. Read on.
Come into a good olive tree. How much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?
Now, he's talking about the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. If you wicked, you're going to be cut off. But of course, the Most High got the power to graft you in again. I don't see how that could be the actual heathen. Okay. Well, Ephraim is the chief of the northern tribes. Read on.
Come into a good olive tree. How much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?
Now, he's talking about the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. If you wicked, you're going to be cut off. But of course, the Most High got the power to graft you in again. I don't see how that could be the actual heathen, but I'm going to explain. Read on.
And that's not the heathen. That's the Israelite. That's the broken branches to be grafted back in again. That's not the wild olive tree. The wild olive tree was threatened, proposition that, if you don't stay in his goodness, you can get cut off. That's what he's telling the audience. You can get cut off. If y'all don't stay in his goodness, you can get cut off just like that other tree. But don't brag about him, because he's able to bring those branches, he's able to bring them back in again.
For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery.
Come on.
Lest ye should be wise in your own conceit.
Now they would say, well, how is it a mystery that the northern kingdom going to be bound back together with their brothers? Don't you know that already? By this time, Hosea had prophesied, leave them alone. Ephraim is joined unto idols. Matter of fact, in that same chapter, he says, you can't even swear that the Lord liveth. You cannot come up to Beth Haven or Gilgal. There is a wall of partition between us. You northern kingdom, y'all done. That explains the alienation from the commonwealth of Israel that Ephesians talks about. That explains why the Samaritan woman at the well was shocked that Christ would even talk to her, because y'all have no dealings with us. Read.
That blindness in part is happened to Israel until the full.
Now, that would only work. What he said with the Hosea, like I say, man, we be saying stuff, but if I use your methodology, brother, y'all, you're saying that Hosea had been prophesied at that time, meaning if Hosea had been prophesied, nothing after that, nothing after Hosea should say anything about gathering Israel back together, or that Israel becoming one stick. Is that verse in Ezekiel about the one stick, is that before or after Hosea? I shouldn't find a verse like that. I ain't looked into it, but I'm just saying, with your methodology right there, what you just said, I shouldn't find a verse talking about Israel in the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom being joined back together. I shouldn't find anything like that after the book of Hosea. And I think Hosea's before the Syrian captivity. Hosea is before the Assyrian captivity. Definitely has to be before the Babylonian captivity. Good luck with that, man.
Fullness of the Gentiles become in.
The blindness in part is the mystery. Y'all are blind. Y'all are thinking that y'all kingdom is going to last forever. Christ told you the day is going to come where your
In the blindness in part. What is he talking about? Is he talking about a kingdom forever in this text? What is he talking about? He's talking about belief. He's talking about belief in something. All this stuff he's finna get ready to talk about is just speculation and fluff. He just threw that in there.
kingdom going to fall. Right. Y'all didn't believe, got the man crucified.
Okay, well, he threw the belief in there.
Y'all think this is just all about y'all. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. We got our temple. We go to Sabbath. We worship. All you people in Corinth, Colossae, the Jews that are heads of churches in these places, y'all still trying to do things the old way. Y'all are blind in part. Y'all are not realizing for this to work out, your northern kingdom brothers gotta come back in.
And so he's saying that's the blindness. They're blind because they don't want the northern kingdom. And then you have to, where's that narrative? Where is that, man, we don't care nothing about no northern kingdom. Where is that narrative? Where is that narrative at? And then I forget, who was the king? Was that Hezekiah that wrote the letter to the northern kingdom right after they got I think the first little batch of the Assyrians came in there and swiped them up. I think it was Hezekiah that sent them a letter like, hey man, just come on down, y'all repent, come on, and y'all, y'all do right, man. And I would think that is after Hosea. Come on, y'all.
You can't do it without him. Right. So blindness came in part. How would Israel be blind that the heathen is coming
in? Why wouldn't you be blind that the heathen coming in? Watch what he finna say though, y'all.
What prophet ever said that was gonna happen? Yeah, right. So how am I blind?
That's how you blind. Yeah, because well, not that's how you blind. I'm sorry. That's the mystery.
I'm listening to the Lord.
It's not a blind. It's a mystery.
She never said that.
Esau gonna get judged.
So let me go there. Okay. For if thou were cut off of the olive tree, which is you were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature. And who is the thou? This is the audience. Again, this is the audience. If thou, meaning you, who he's talking to, you were cut out of a wild tree. You were cut out the wild tree and you were grafted in, contrary to nature, into a good tree. Okay, this is contrary. This is the opposition to how things naturally work. How much more shall these, who is the these? That's the broken branches. That's not the olive tree. The these now, how much more shall these, not the you, not you, but they, them, these, those, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own tree. Okay, and those natural branches, he's telling you, don't boast against those branches that done been cut off. Those natural branches that have been cut off, and take heed because he cut off those natural branches. Don't think he won't cut you off, being that you were cut from a wild tree, and that you don't bear the root. They bared the root. They were connected to the root. How much more shall these, the broken branches, which are natural branches, be grafted into their own tree? Okay, how much more? It's going to be better. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery. Okay, you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. There's a blindness that is on Israel until the fullness of these Gentiles. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the wild olive trees, those wild branches, until the fullness of these wild branches be brought in. And so Israel shall be saved, as is written. He gonna get to that point. We'll come back to it once he say it. But we want to deal with this verse too. And they, who is the they? We know the you and thou, the audience, is the wild tree. The they, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted. I think I went over that. Shall be grafted in again, meaning the natural branches. If they, just because they cut out don't mean they done. Is Israel done with his people? God forbid. Is God done with his people? God forbid. Okay. They shall be grafted in, and they'll be able to graft them in again. Shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again. So yes, that's not heathen right there. That's talking about the natural tree and those branches that were broken from it. All right.
Moab, you can never come around.
And I know I'm kind of repeating myself and going over, but it's necessary. They have to hear it this way. It has to be said over and over and over again. That's why they don't understand Isaiah 28. That's what Isaiah 28 said. Man, you got to say this up over and over and over and over and over. What they think we children that you got to tell us over and over and over. We're going to get into that also. One of these days, y'all willing.
Ammon, you can never come around. The Girgashites, Jebusites, we not marrying y'all. We not dealing with y'all. Canaan, y'all going to be servants and servants. Ethiopia, you going to be slain by my sword. How am I blind? You know what blindness would be? You're not willing to accept that your Northern Kingdom brothers got a piece of this thing.
You blind that Northern Kingdom ain't got a piece. That's the blindness that has happened. The blindness is you not believing in Christ. You've been blinded that you can't see that Christ is the Messiah. The mystery is these Gentiles are going to be coming in.
I'm trying to move on without. Read on.
God. And so all Israel shall be saved.
And what?
And so all Israel shall be saved.
Are you saying the heathen is Israel? Now that's what these Christians want to teach you.
And they can get you that way if you got a problem with reading comprehension. But it's pretty simple. What is he talking about? He's talking about a blindness in part has happened to these natural branches that have been cut off. Don't boast against these branches. He's going to bring these branches back in, but blindness is happening to them until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. All right, but that blindness will come off of them. So don't get it twisted. All Israel will be saved. This ain't, oh, well, because the wild olive tree been grafted in that they're Israel. He just went on this whole rampant about these broken branches. If they begin to believe, they can be grafted in again. So don't boast against these branches, and don't be ignorant of this mystery. Least you should be wise in your own conceits. What does that mean? Least you shall be wise in your own conceits. Let me see here. I'm looking at an NLT. What was that? Verse 25. Well, I just read it. NLT. I want you to understand the mystery, dear brothers and sisters, so that you will not feel proud about yourselves. Some of the people of Israel have hard hearts, but this will only last until the full number of Gentiles come to Christ. So all Israel will be saved. This was his challenge. Don't get it twisted. He ain't forgot about his people. All Israel will be saved. But that don't mean the wild olive tree is Israel. You gotta read the whole, you gotta just read through it. You know, when we breaking it down and stopping, we kind of lose the certain points that he's making. But the last point that he was making is that these branches, don't boast against them, because they can be grafted in again, and all Israel will be saved. Don't get it twisted. But there's a blindness on them till the fullness of the Gentiles come in, whatever you say that is. And so if you want to say that's the northern kingdom, well, the southern kingdom is blind to the fullness of the fullness of the northern kingdom comes in. And so that wouldn't say all of Israel. That would say all of Judah will be saved. If it was a north-south thing, it would make more sense saying that all of Judah will be saved, because that's who he's talking about now. Because the wild olive tree done sat in there, and they straight. It's just these broken branches that gotta get back attached. And then he's saying, I'm using these broken branches, get into the broken branches being not the broken branch, but the wild olive tree, provoking the broken branches to jealousy, to bring them back in. And that's what we're reading here. And so the all Israel shall be saved is not including the wild olive tree. It's just including that those broken branches will come back. They will return.
They're going to get fancy too. They're going to say there's an Israel of God. And Israel of God supersede nationality, and it's everybody that's in the body of Christ. I like that. But who did Christ come for?
Israel.
Lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Right.
No, the lost sheep of the house of the heathen too.
House of Israel.
Come on, I can't.
And if you, like I say, if you go back there, he said, I only came for the lost sheep in the house of Israel. Don't go into Judah. Don't go into don't go into these heathen nations, and don't go to Samaria. You got to keep reading the text. That's why I tell you, we stopping at certain points. Well, Christ said this right here. Yeah, he said that right there. But then what he said right here? What was the last thing he said? Because eventually, Matthew 28, he tell you to go to all nations. But we like the parts that we like, and that's what we want to teach. We only want to teach the parts that we like. We don't want to teach Matthew 28. We only want to teach Matthew 10. And which one you think more important? 10 or 28?
Can't go with that. All Israel shall be saved. What?
That's like, which covenant is more important? Noah's or Moses? Adam's or Abraham's?
As it is written.
As it is what?
As it is written.
All right, now I got a problem too. Where is it written that the heathen going to become us? They try to do it in Isaiah, but they don't read Isaiah. Isaiah tell you they all going in slavery.
Yeah.
Isaiah said the nation and kingdom that will not serve shall utterly be destroyed. The strangers.
That tell them that they all going. You just cut yourself.
Shall be saved. What?
As it is written.
As it is what?
As it is written.
All right, now I got a problem too. Where
Now he finna tell you what Isaiah said.
is it written that the heathen going to become us? They try to do it in Isaiah, but they don't read Isaiah. Isaiah tell you they all going in slavery.
Isaiah said they all going into slavery. They all going into slavery. And then watch what he quote after that.
Yeah.
Isaiah said the nation and kingdom that will not serve.
I thought they all going into slavery. Now you quoting something that the nation and kingdom that will not serve. Now you putting a stipulation on it. But initially you said all of them going in there. Now you quoting that, you know, those that won't serve going in there.
Shall utterly be destroyed. The strangers is going to build up our temples and our walls, man. So then what you mean as it is written? Obviously this has to be talking about northern and southern kingdom. That's the only thing that is written. Read.
There shall
And that's why it's not a mystery.
come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
From who?
From
And that's what I'm saying. You just man, I pray this thing makes sense, man. I don't know how. I know how we got here. It's just presuppositions is how my brothers got there, and how I used to be there too, just trying to make it fit. But it is talking about the broken branches. He's telling the wild olive tree. The audience is the wild olive tree, and he's telling them that don't boast against these broken branches. They will be saved. A Zion, a deliverer, shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. Not the southern kingdom, nor from Jacob. Both of them. Them broken branches is Israel. Both of them. It's Israel. No matter who it is, it's Israel. Ain't no distinction. I have to really look into that, man, because like, I don't know. I don't think there's a distinction. Now I'm sitting here thinking about it. Is it ever a distinction besides us trying to make that word Gentile mean Northern Kingdom? Is there any other time where it's saying there is no other time where it's talking about the Northern Kingdom of Israel? There, I don't even know if that word is there.
Jacob.
Well, how you turning ungodliness from Jacob?
Does it? Is there a verse with Northern Kingdom of Israel in the New Testament?
If you're turning ungodliness from the heathen, it don't work. So I can never go with that breakdown.
And then he's not turning ungodliness from the heathen again because the audience is the heathen. And the audience is the heathen. And the audience, Paul is telling the audience, don't boast. God will clean these folks up.
Like, I understand it, but I feel that there's more evidence for the other way. Does that mean that the elders is crazy and they bad teachers? No, because their teaching still ends up in a fact. The heathens that try to cleave
That's a negative.
with us, they got cut off because they didn't do what was right anyway. John Hyrcanus, during the time of the Maccabees, taught the Edomites the evidence for the
Boy, I told these jokers that information, boy, a few years ago, man. Jokers went crazy. I know brothers still don't believe when I be saying this stuff. Like, man, I ain't hearing that, brother. I'm not here to. I got nothing to. Man, I got nothing to gain, bro. By giving you this information, and he finna give it to you. You know, Yawal about to give it to y'all.
other way. Does that mean that the elders is crazy and they bad teachers? No, because their teaching still ends up in a fact. The heathens that try to cleave with us, they got cut off because they didn't do what was right anyway. John Hyrcanus, during the time of the Maccabees, taught the Edomites the law.
John Hyrcanus, I've been telling y'all about. During the Hasmonean dynasty, during the Maccabean period, he taught the Edomites. Well, he conquered the Edomites. He conquered them and forced them to circumcise themselves. Watch this.
He said, if y'all don't keep these commandments, I'm gonna kill y'all. All the Edomites began to be Judaized. In Esther, under
all the Edomites were Judaized. And you see the Edomites in the text as Herodians. You see those Edomites that he's talking about as Herodians. Well, they're Herodians, but you know, some Herodians are too just people who love Herod. But most of that sect kind of was built off of those Edomites. And this is how Herod, being an Edomite, becomes the king of Israel. But he was initially over the Edomites. He was like the ruler that was placed over the Edomites by Israel.
Mordecai, all the heathen became Jews.
All the heathen, he going into Esther. Look what he telling you. All the heathen became Jews. Brothers like, can't deal with it. We done fought this verse for so long. You been trying to fight against this verse, but it just is what it is. You can't deal with it, man.
He said, if y'all don't keep these commandments, I'm gonna kill y'all. All the Edomites began to be Judaized. In Esther, under Mordecai.
And this the thing. So, you saying that. Now, understand, we in complete rulership. We done conquered the Edomites. And we done forced them to keep Torah. Circumcised them. Judaized them. And you saying, we just left the northern kingdom brothers? And we ain't Judaized the northern kingdom brothers? We just left them and we just let them go out there and be heathens? You talking about he done rededicated the temple and circumcised all the babies that was in Israel? And you think we just left the northern kingdom out here for Paul 200 years later to go out there and try to get them? But we done conquered a people and taught these heathens the law, but didn't teach our northern kingdom brothers the law? Come on, man. Come on now.
All the heathen became
I'm gonna make that a shirt. Come on now.
Jews. Not that they became Israelites, but they started practicing our laws because they was.
Not that they didn't become Israelites. Yeah, that's what it said. I don't know, you know. You could try to spin it, but man, just say what it say, man. We ain't gotta fight against this stuff.
Scared of, it says it, for the fear of Israel, they became Jews. So that means we say Sabbath, what they say. Sabbath. I dare one of them to go out there and make a burden, right? So you might as well be a Jew too. I keep Sabbath too. It's Day of Atonement, ain't nobody working. Ain't nobody working, ain't none of y'all working, right? And then the heathen gonna be like, you know what? Yeah, nah, I'm not working today. It's new moon, right? They also do no Sabbath work. Right. The heathen think he gonna go and do.
And I'm okay with that, you know. I'm okay with that. It's speculation though. It's fluff, but I ain't mad at it. That's how you want to say that's what it was. They became Jews. They kept the law. It's just like even, you know, with that, I want to say Exodus 12. With those them Passover ordinances, and the stranger got to circumcise himself, and he is be as one that is in the land. You could probably put that same fluff on there, or you could put it. You can put another meaning. You know, you can put. Hey man, they became as one that was born in the land.
Do some servile work, and the Jews is like,
hey, it's tabernacles, right?
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 Yes.
Tabernacles, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. Hey, and let's go get our tents, right? That's not being grafted in. That's actually the Israelites being in power and being a light to the Gentiles. Right. Y'all gonna do what we say.
That's not being grafted in. That's being a light.
You didn't become us.
Right.
We in control. Like it's not like one of them heathens is stepping up. Give me this Bible. I'm gonna teach this now.
Yeah.
No, hold on. Come on, man. Right? Not like that. That.
Hey, were you about to go to this, Zechariah?
No, I'm gonna get Jeremiah 11 and show you how We understand this chapter of Romans. We believe that this is Paul teaching a prophecy of Jeremiah. Can we go look at that?
Jeremiah again, that's after Hosea. And your methodology with Hosea, well, you have to throw that in the trash. But I pray this thing was edifying. That was about it. I pray that y'all could understand what I was saying about this. And Yawal, I might direct message you this one. Just hit me if you got any questions on it or if you see any holes there. And let's talk about it. Y'all hit the comments. If you have any confusion or with any verses that we went over. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed. Shalom, Israel.